Good morning, students. Today we are going to take up a very familiar and important topic, and that is tropical monsoon. Tropical monsoon is very important for us because we keep waiting for the rainy season after the long, dry, sultry summer. So let us learn more in detail about the tropical monsoon season. Now, as far as its location and extent of the tropical monsoon region is concerned, it lies in the climatic belt between 10° north to 25° north, 10 degrees south to 25 degrees south of the equator. In some places, like in the Indian subcontinent itself, it extends about 30° north. The areas where we find the tropical monsoon, Asia being the largest area where we find the monsoon region to be very, very active, and it includes countries like India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, most of Southeastern Asia, which includes Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and parts of China. In North America, it includes the Latin American countries or the Central American countries, West Indies, and in South America, parts of eastern Brazil and parts of South, the northern part of South America. In Africa, it includes almost the entire Madagascar island and parts of eastern African continent, especially along the coast. And in Australia, the northeastern part of the continent of Australia. So these are the regions where we find the tropical monsoon climate to be very, very active. In this slide, you can see all the places have been named where we find the tropical monsoon climates. Now, as far as the climatic conditions of the tropical monsoon region is concerned, during the summer, the average summer temperature varies between 27 degrees to 30 degrees centigrade in the coastal areas. However, they are having more equable climate in the coastal regions. The interior parts in the northern plains have about 35 degrees centigrade of temperature to around 38 during the summer. And the northwestern part of India experiences exceptionally high temperature, where the temperature can be more than 45 degrees centigrade. And it is during this time when we also experience the hot, dry local wind, which is known as the Lu. During the winter, the average temperature can be 22 degree centigrade to about 25 degrees centigrade in the coastal areas. So the coastal areas have a more moderate climate because of the influence of the seas, whereas the interior part of India experiences about 15 to 18 degree centigrade. Now the monsoon winds. The monsoon has been derived from an Arabic word which means Mausim, which is known as season. Mausim means season. And the monsoon is a typical example of periodic wind. It is also similar to land and sea breeze. The only difference is that it is not a daily phenomenon. It is occurring due to differential heating of the land and the sea. And due to this differential in heating, there is a reversal of wind, and this develops due to intense low pressure on the land and high pressure above the sea. These winds, which are coming from the sea, blow for nearly 6 months, and the rest of the months, the winds are blowing from the land towards the sea. In this GIF, you can see how the monsoon advances. So, as it advances from the sea towards the land, the dates are approximately given which areas will receive rainfall at what time of the year. Now, there are four distinct seasons experienced in a year, mainly in the Indian subcontinent and surrounding monsoon areas, which we are going to deal in the next part of the lesson. So, this is how the winds blow, and after the monsoon is over, the winds begin to blow in a reverse direction. So let us now learn about the hot, dry season, which extends from March to mid June. Now, the Indian subcontinent lies in the northern hemisphere, and during the summers, the direct rays of the sun is falling on the Tropic of Cancer. So all places in the northern hemisphere experiences very long and hot days and shorter nights. Now the land mass of Asia becomes intensely hot, and low pressure begins to form in the central part of the subcontinent. Here we can see an intense low pressure is being created over here. Now, the land during this time is very hot, while the sea is very cool. So, a high pressure develops over the seas and oceans, especially in the Indian Ocean, which is in the south of the subcontinent, and a very intense low pressure gets developed in the central part of the subcontinent. The average summer temperature during this time is about 27 degree to 30 degree in the coastal areas, while the northwestern part can experience a very high temperature to the tune of nearly 45 to 48 degree centigrade. A very hot and dry local wind, Lu, begins to blow in the Gangetic plain, which is very, very harmful to the health. And during this time, the water table goes down, the wells go dry, and the land becomes very thirsty. In this map, we can see how the temperature in the central part of the subcontinent is rising, with Jacobabad in Pakistan having a 50 degree centigrade. Places like Ahmedabad, Bhopal, Kanpur, Agra have 48 to 49 degrees centigrade of temperature. It is during this time that the winds begin to blow from the cool seas and oceans around towards the thirsty land which is having an intense low pressure. A very strong pressure gradient is created, and the low pressure center caused by intense heating attracts the moisture bearing winds from the Indian Ocean. The southeast trades of the southern hemisphere blow from Australian high pressure and cross the equator and get deflected to the right. And this happens mainly due to the Coriolis force. They blow as southwest monsoons over the Arabian Sea, which is known as the Arabian Sea branch, and another one is the Bay of Bengal branch. These strong onshore winds are the southwest monsoons, which bring torrential downpour accompanied by thunder and lightning over the entire subcontinent. So here we can clearly see how the southeast trades, after crossing the equator, become southwest monsoons, and they bring rainfall to this entire area which is having an intense low pressure. Now, due to the configuration of the land, the monsoon winds come as two different branches, the Arabian Sea branch and the Bay of Bengal branch. Kerala is the first state which gets the monsoon first, because the monsoon wind strikes the Kerala coast nearly at the end of the month of May or the first week of June. Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala gets a very heavy rainfall to the tune of about 325 millimeters. The leeward side of the Western Ghats, that is this portion, lie in the rain shadow area, getting about 60 centimeter of rainfall, while the windward side, which is to the western part of the Western Ghats, get very heavy rainfall. A branch of the southwest monsoon passes over western Rajasthan, running parallel to the Aravalis. The Aravalis are over here, and the winds are parallel, they are moving parallel. As a result, this area does not get enough rainfall, which has led to the occurrence of the Thar Desert. The Bay of Bengal branch passes over Bay of Bengal, and it takes a curve towards the mainland. It enters India through the Ganga Brahmaputra delta region and gets attracted to the northwestern plains of India. These winds move in the Indo-Gangetic plain, running parallel to the Himalayas. The Himalayas are over here, and these winds run parallel. The presence of Himalayas also do not allow the winds to move across the mountains. So all the moisture is dropped in the Gangetic plain over here. Another stream of this branch causes very heavy rainfall in Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, and the windward side of the Khasi and Jaintia hills in Meghalaya. Mawsynram, which is over here in Meghalaya, near Cherrapunji, receives the heaviest rainfall in the world. Most of the annual rainfall in the Indian subcontinent is received by the southwest monsoon winds. Now, after dropping rainfall for nearly 3 months. It is time for the winds to reverse. So, this is when, that is the month of October and November, that the winds begin to reverse. Here you can see how the winds are now moving towards the water bodies. So, during this time, it is a transition period where the winds begin to withdraw from the land and move towards the sea. After 21st of June, the apparent movement of the sun starts to move southwards, and the movement of the sun leads to the occurrence of a low pressure on the seas and a high pressure above the land. During this time, very oppressive weather conditions occur, which we call as the October heat. Fine cool conditions begin to prevail from November. So, this is also a season when cyclones are very, very active because the seas have become very unstable due to the warmth which has made them very likely to have cyclones because of instability. And both Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea are famous for having several cyclones. However, it is during this time that the retreating monsoon, which we also call as the northeast monsoons, they while they are moving above the Bay of Bengal, they pick up moisture and bring a lot of rainfall to the eastern coast of Tamil Nadu and parts of Sri Lanka. The cool dry season, which extends from November to February. Now, during this time, the winter season has started to approach because the rays of the sun are now falling vertically over the Tropic of Capricorn. The subcontinent has now become cool and a high pressure has developed over it. This intense high pressure leads to the cold winds which begin to diverge towards the low pressure areas which are now on the seas and oceans. The cold winds, when they cross the equator, get deflected and uh, bring a lot of rainfall to the low pressure which has now been formed in Australia. During this time, the skies are clear and a very fine weather condition prevails with very low humidity. The northwestern part of India receives some rainfall from the westerly disturbances which normally occur in the Mediterranean region. Natural vegetation in the monsoon regions consists of deciduous and also some evergreen trees. Natural vegetation depends on the amount of rainfall received by the southwest monsoons. Most trees grow to a height of about 12 to 13 meters and are mostly deciduous, which means that they shed their leaves at least once a year. Important trees being acacia, teak, sal, sandalwood, bamboo, mahua, jamun, neem, shisham, and deodar. The western slopes of the Western Ghats, however, get very heavy rainfall and have hardwood trees with very broad leaves. Most of the trees over there are also evergreen. Monsoon regions receive good amount of rainfall. They have a long growing season and has a very fertile soil. So these are the areas of the world where we find the population to be very high. Agriculture is a subsistence type of agriculture where the farmers are growing enough to feed themselves and their families. Main crops include tea, coffee, rice, rubber, sugarcane, oilseeds, pulses, etc. The crops are also grown for foreign exchange. Several heavy industries like manufacturing industries, agro, and forest based industries contribute to the development of the economy. Most of the monsoon countries are developing rapidly, especially the Southeast Asian countries, India being one of the fastest growing economies of the world. The monsoon regions are of great importance because we are living in the monsoon regions and our lives are also being heralded by this season. A very good monsoon means a very high GDP and also a lot of buying capacity. In fact, most of our festivals are also guided by the monsoon. That is why the monsoon regions are of great significance for people of our country. That is what we have enough time for today. Thank you.